Hey everyone, welcome to Journey Through the Generations. We are back with the finale of Relative Race, Day 10.
We made it to the end.
Yes, it is time to stop meeting relatives for the time being and win $50,000.
$50,000 what it's about tonight.
Right, so let's level set here a little bit before we get into the finale. So let's talk about who is in the finale.
Okay. So it's Team Blue and Team Green. Those are the ones who made it to Day 10. And I think it's something that I want to remind everybody is that Team Blue got all the way to Day 10 and didn't have one strike.
Right. For the first time in relative race history.
So, yeah, I think that's a very good accomplishment, and they should be very proud of themselves.
And Susan and Steven, they rocked the whole, the whole season.
Yeah.
Except with one blemish. But
they stayed at the top except for that one time.
They won first place 6 times, I think.
I think 7.
So,
6 or 7, something like that.
That's,
a lot.
That is great. So I think from a performance standpoint, I would have to give the nod to Team Green, just because they placed first so many times. But Team Blue is a very, very, very close second.
Yeah, they were in second place every time but 2 episodes. One, they won first place, and the other one, they were in third place. But yeah. And let's just give a little background. Unlike the rest of the season, day 1 through 9, they won and did all of this great work by navigating from, their relative's house to the challenge. And a lot of it was navigating, I think, either to the relative's house or from the relative's house on the next day. Today, Day 10, there is no navigating. They go straight to the challenge spot and they just compete in challenges. They don't have to worry about driving anywhere, figuring out roads, and stuff like that today.
Yeah, I'm sure they put them on a plane, obviously, to get to Arizona pretty quickly because JT and Kaylee were in Mississippi and Susan and Steven were already in Arizona, which is where the finale is being held.
Northern Arizona.
Yep. So, one last thing before we get started talking about the challenges. Just know that the team that I chose at the beginning of this is still in it to win it. And I chose Team Green. Who did you choose at the beginning of the race?
At the beginning of the race, actually prior to the race beginning, I chose Team Red, who was the first to be eliminated on day 8. Day 7? Yes. They were eliminated on day 7. They got their golden ticket on day 8. So they met 8 of the 9 relatives.
Yep. So I really just wanted to say that that I'm much better picker of winners than
I know that's
what
you want to say. You're actually not better, but you did good this time. So I'll give that to you this time.
Whatever. All right. So let's talk about the challenge and the way or challenges and the way that it worked.
Okay. So they get to, and they're on a farm to do all the challenges, which is interesting because Dan said at the beginning on day 1 that this would be a race about food. So they started with food and they're ending with food, which of course I think is great.
Yeah. And this farm is, I don't know exactly what to call it. I'll call it maybe a culinary.
Oh yeah.
Farm or
it's not just
something
your regular,
of that sort.
Yeah, it's an upscale.
And they raise everything that they use there on location. All the vegetables, the eggs, and the dairy, and all that good stuff. It has a kitchen on site. It has professional cooks or chefs there. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they said that it's also a place where they teach people how to cook.
Yes, it's kind of like a farm resort type place because they said that one of their main things is bringing families there as a retreat, and they teach a cooking class to the whole family. So I think that's kind of befitting with Relative Race because they meet family on Relative Race, and the farm there, that's one of the things they do is they bring families together and teach them how to cook.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I didn't realize throughout the season was that the teams were collecting recipes from their relatives.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that either.
And so it was in order to be used on day 10 to help them with their cooking.
With the challenges.
Right, with the challenges. Yeah. And so I thought that was pretty cool that they were able to do that.
Yeah, not only were they able to cook with their relatives if they wanted to do that, but now they have that collection of recipes from their relatives. Because I think about that and I'm like, I don't have any recipes from anybody in my family. So that's something that I would like to have.
Yeah.
It's a good keepsake.
Yeah, I think I might have some, maybe. Well, I know I'll have some from Mama. So
right.
I know that for a fact because she has them. She
has them written down?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be the one that gets those. So.
Okay. Well, how about we just copy them?
I will get those and I'll copy them for other people, but I'll have them. So anyway.
Thank you for that.
So the challenges that we've been talking about, there were 3 challenges. The first 2 challenges, if you win, you get 1 star.
Right.
And then in the last challenge, you would get 3 or 1 star for each of the courses of the meal, and there were 3 courses. So you had the opportunity to win 3 stars in the finale. And so so now each one was building up to this, finale.
Because you had to have 3 stars to win $50,000.
Yeah, that's right. And so so let's talk about the first challenge,
which I thought might have been my favorite of the 3. It was called Don't Flip Out. It was a cooking competition. They had to make pancakes from scratch
and the syrup
with no recipe. And I always use a mix, so I don't have any idea how to make pancakes from scratch.
I think I've done it one time, maybe twice before. But yes, you're right. Mostly it's the pancake mix out of a box. But I think that we are savvy enough chefs or cooks.
Yeah, we could have figured it out.
That we probably would have figured that out, right? Flour,
sugar, eggs. Yeah, we would have figured it out. But the thing is that this one wasn't judged by the chefs. So they actually had to, once they cooked the pancakes, they had to flip the pancakes from the griddle across to the other teammate. Now, when we first watched it, we were like, well, we'll just make them small, and that way you have enough room to be able to move and catch them. But the thing was that you had to use a whole ladle full of batter to make one pancake. So they ended up having to be large.
Yeah, and you had to make these good enough for you to eat. Correct. Or for the teams to eat, because after they flipped their 5 pancakes across the way to the other teammate, and then taking the syrup
that you had to make from scratch,
right? Which there was a determined amount they had to make.
Yeah, they had to go up to a line on a jar.
Right, they had to go over to the other side and drench the pancakes with all the syrup and eat it all.
It was a lot of syrup.
Until you win. Until it was over.
Yeah, you had to eat all of it. So, Team Blue, JT and Kaylee, I think they did good on their pancakes, but their syrup
looked gross.
It was awful.
It was so dark.
It was, again, you had to make it from scratch. So they used maple extract to put in
a lot of maple
extract. And instead of I think she asked for a tablespoon, and he gave her a cupful.
It looked like it was a half cup to a cup. It was a lot.
Yeah, it was so dark, so thick, and they had to eat it.
Yes, and it was darker, if it can get any darker than molasses.
Right,
It was so dark.
It was dark.
I probably would have thrown that up.
And you could tell she struggled to get through that. I think he ate most of it. But she was like, oh, this is so gross.
Yeah.
But Team Green, they said their pancakes and syrup tasted great.
Yeah. Kaylee didn't like that. They were not arguing, but they were bragging that their pancakes were so good. And
so they were easy to eat.
They were eating them pretty good.
Yeah, so they were easy to eat. So it wasn't shocking to know who won that round.
I think if Jonathan and Kaylee had, or I call him Jonathan, I think it's JT.
Yeah.
If they had done a better job with their syrup, they would have been able to at least be a close competitor to Green, because when they both started eating, they were pretty close together. So bottom line is Team Green won.
Yes, so they have
challenge.
1 star.
Yep. So the second challenge, it was called Garçon en Garde, which I thought was an interesting name, and was trying to figure out how this was going to go. And so what they had to do is take dishes and glassware and flatware and all that stuff. They had to take it from one table all the way through some other dining tables over to the other side and set a table setting of 4, just like the sample table that was next to them. Here's the kicker on this, is that while they were navigating through these dining room tables, the opposite team was standing at a table of bread and was able to throw that bread to try to knock the glasses or stuff off, or at least make them drop the tray. And to me, this was the best. I like this one the best.
You definitely saw their personalities in this one.
I like throwing at people.
I know you do.
I just like Steven hit Kaylee upside the head with looked like a hard biscuit.
It looked like a hard roll. Yes, it didn't. Yes. And Susan said from Team Green that she used to be a server, so she felt confident that she'd be able to get the trays from one side to the other pretty well. But I don't think she took into account that they were going to be throwing bread at her.
Yeah. And they had, just regular dinner rolls. They also had long baguettes and French bread. Rolls. And it's just like, I didn't see many people throw those. But
once or twice.
It's probably easier to throw the smaller rolls.
So I
thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I wish we knew like the real time, how long it really took them and how many times. Because once you had your tray full and you put it on the table, then you had to switch with your partner, and then your partner had to do the same thing while the women were throwing at the men, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I wish I knew like real time how many times they had to do it and how long it really actually took them.
Yeah. And Kaylee had the right idea when she went through the second time. She was like, turn your back to the people throwing the bread.
Yeah, because
it'll hit off your back and not hit your tray and knock everything off.
Yeah.
Yep. So they made a big, huge mess.
Oh, yeah.
It was glass and
everywhere.
Cups and things everywhere, bread everywhere.
Yes.
And so it was a really interesting, I liked it, know. And then when it comes down to the end, Team Green won again.
Yes, they got their table set, and Dan had to come and evaluate it, and he said that everything was correct, and so they got a star.
Right. And I think Team Blue would have probably won, because when I was looking at those table settings, I was like, man, it looks like Team Green was behind. But some of the flatware they got the wrong size forks.
Right, because you have a salad fork and a dinner fork.
Right, so they had to go back and get another set of forks.
Right, the salad forks, because they got all dinner forks.
And that may be what ended it for them, having to go back again. So these first two competitions, Team Blue was close.
Oh, yeah, they were right
just
behind
had
them.
a couple of bad things go their way, and they were down 0-2 in the star competition, where you had to win 2 of 3.
Right.
So,
but if you're gonna be down, I mean, this would be the third competition is the one. I mean, because once I figured out what they were gonna have to do, I was like, oh, okay, they could come back and they could possibly win all 3 of these, because the third challenge was the courses.
And it was called Final Feast.
Yes, and it, I guess, technically maybe would have been a feast, because they had an appetizer course, an entree course, and a dessert course, and each was judged by one of the chefs from the farm, and either one of them could win. So one team could possibly win all 3 courses.
And you win a star for each course.
Right.
And so this last challenge is worth 3 stars altogether.
And they had 2 hours to cook everything, and they had to use the recipes that they had collected from their relatives. So Dan basically gave them, like, for the appetizer, they had to make some kind of pizza. And then they had to make an entree, and then the dessert of their choice.
And the great thing that I liked about this, and it's kind of what happened last year in the finale, is that for both teams, they had a sous chef.
Oh, yeah.
And the sous chef they had was one of their family members that they met during the course of the game. So Steven's sister, Becky, came and was his sous chef.
Yeah.
And then Anthony. Anthony came. I think he met JT on day 1.
Yeah, his brother, yeah.
And he was their sous chef.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great. Yeah. And they did that last season, too.
They did. Another thing to remember about this challenge is, like I said, they had the 2 hours to cook all 3 courses. But also, if they needed any dairy or vegetables, they had to actually leave the kitchen and drive an ATV. Is it ATV? To the greenhouse or the barn to be able to get milk and eggs or vegetables. So if you went in the beginning and then you ran out, then you had to go back. And I mean, I don't know how far it was. It was far enough that they had to drive. So that was time away from them cooking.
Yeah. And it was, you had to do it right. You had to at least know kind of what you were going to cook and what you need. So you can go to all of those locations one time.
Right.
And you didn't have to leave again. And so go and get, I don't know, to me, it's like, okay, if I think I need 3 eggs, I'm getting a half dozen eggs,
Yeah. You get more than what you need.
You're right. And they actually had to go to the hen house and get the eggs out.
From up under hens.
Yeah. And so.
And they had to milk
a goat. Which.
I don't know how to do. So.
Yeah. Which makes sense because.
It's a farm.
It's not.
Farm to table. That's the concept.
And then they had to go and get vegetables. Now, they didn't have to pick the vegetables.
No, they were already
out in bins, but
you had to go get
baskets.
Them. Yeah,
but you still had to go get them, and so you have to have some kind of idea of what you're going to cook. So anyway, all right, let's start at the first course, which was the appetizer course, which was you can cook any kind of pizza you want.
Yep, and Team Green cooked a barbecue chicken pizza, and Team Blue made a chicken Alfredo pizza. And
the barbecue chicken pizza that Steven and Susan cooked looked really good.
It did.
But here's the funny thing about it. So they made their pizza and realized that they needed more, what was it? They needed more eggs,
I think,
or more milk,
or
something like that. So they had to get in the ATV and go get more. Mm-hmm. They was getting ready to leave and remembered that their pizza was in the oven. Mm-hmm. And so this wasn't a regular, just electric oven. This was a stone wood-fired pizza oven.
Yeah.
And so those pizzas will burn. Fast. You have to turn them.
Yeah, watch them
all the time because that heat is so hot. It will burn your pizza.
Yeah.
And luckily, they remembered before they left.
We cooking a pizza.
Yep. And I kept saying it. I said, ooh, they going to burn that pizza.
Oh. But they remembered. And another thing to remember is that they didn't know how to make pizza crust because you had to make everything from scratch.
Right.
So, but Stephen had just met his father on day 9, and they made biscuits that morning before they left. So he remembered that. So he made a biscuit crust.
Hey, do what you got to do.
Get it figured out. So that's what he did. And it looked really good. His pizza looked actually really good.
Yeah, and it was, it wasn't looking real good with them making the pizza crust. Mm-hmm. It was just the mixer was just going around, just throwing flour around or whatever.
They didn't have enough of whatever it is that you put in there to make it combine.
Yep. So this is where those recipes that we talked about came into play from their families, because they had a little book where all of the recipes was in it, and they could just flip to that recipe and then make it. So all the while having their sous chefs, slicing cutting, and dicing.
Yeah, their vegetables and stuff like that. So JT said in the beginning he does not cook.
No.
And he was basically just getting whatever Kaylee needed, and she did all the cooking.
Yes.
Which is what exactly happened. Mm-hmm. Her pizza crust looked more like a roll. A dough.
Man, I can't even tell you what it looked like.
It looked like a loaf of bread.
It looked
with
like,
toppings on it.
It looked like a mess is what it looked like.
It wasn't flat. It was like a loaf. Half of a loaf. It was lumpy. It was pretty thick.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure, how it got that way, because I don't think they really showed the problem that she was having. But some kind of way, maybe they, just gave up because it was taking too long.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But that pizza, I believe, would have been very good if they had just had a regular
just
pizza
flatten
crust.
It a little bit more, rolled it out or something.
Yeah.
So do you want to go to the next course, which is the entree? Team Blue made chicken parmesan and Alfredo pasta, and Team Green made ribeye pepper steak sandwiches.
So that ribeye sandwich, sausage and pepper sandwich, looked so good.
It did look good.
I mean, it was fantastic looking. And I would eat that.
Yeah, it looked good. I think they did a really good job on the sandwich.
And they used pizza roll, a pizza bun, or not pizza, pretzel.
Pretzel bun, yeah.
A pretzel bun and I don't know if that was a ciabatta roll.
I think it was. There were 2 different rolls. Mm-hmm. So it looked like 2 different entrees because each judge got a sandwich, but their sandwich didn't look alike because the rolls were different.
Mm-hmm. And the parmesan, the chicken parmesan, and what was it? The pasta.
Alfredo pasta.
Kaylee cooks that at home.
Yeah, that's a regular meal that they make.
Exactly what to do. And you could tell she did because
she knocked that out.
She heated the oil, seasoned that chicken, and she
knew
fried that chicken up, and it looked really good.
It was I think they both did good on the entree. So that one I feel like was a close one.
Yeah, I didn't see anything really get messed up with that, other than JT knocking over the shelf and breaking the top.
Yeah, he already said he can't cook, so he was just there to help, and then he made a big mess and knocked over a whole shelf of dishes, and stuff that they had to clean up.
Yeah.
So come on, JT.
And well, defend him a little bit. I'm sure he didn't think that counter was gonna flip over
I'm
like
sure
that.
he didn't.
And he had all those bottom drawers pulled out. He was looking for
a fork.
A fork. Was that a fork?
A fork, because you wanted to flip the chicken with a fork.
Oh yeah, that's right. And he was just looking, putting it back in, he left everything out, and it got heavy and tipped over.
But he cleaned everything up while she was still cooking, so they didn't, lose any time or anything.
Yeah. The final course was dessert, which, of course, both teams had to make from scratch. And they both were trying to figure out, what to do in the little time that they had left. JT and Kaylee chose a simple strawberry shortcake.
Which, was it really from scratch?
No, because as soon as they said it, they had like 20-something minutes left. And I remember saying, they're going to do a strawberry shortcake in 20 minutes? That's not going to work.
I feel like that's not scratch.
And so I don't know if they just allowed them to use the sponge cakes.
Little cup things.
Yeah, or if that was okay to do.
Maybe that was actually in the recipe. Maybe if it's in the recipe, that's the way you have to cook it.
But that wasn't a family recipe, I don't think. That was
Andrew's.
Oh, okay.
Recipe, because he said this is my other brother's recipe.
Okay, I guess. And then Stephen and Susan, they cooked
Becky's pineapple upside down cake.
Right, which I thought was genius because you have her right there.
It's her recipe
as a sous chef, and you just ask her what to do.
Yeah, and that's what they did. But they couldn't find a pan to cook it in, so they had to use a pot. But they basically made the batter, and then they brought everything out there to her, and she did the brown sugar and the pineapple design on the bottom, and then they poured the cake part on top. So I thought that was very smart of them to do it that way.
Yeah, and she said Stephen was trying to tell her what he needed to be done, and she said, "This is my recipe. I got it.
I got this. You can go do something else."
Yeah, she probably makes it all the time.
But I will say that Kaylee's strawberries, most strawberry shortcakes are not cooked, but she cooked her strawberries before she put them in the little cake cup things. So I thought that was interesting. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, it looked good. I guess as long as you can cook them and it tastes good. I mean, what does it matter?
Yeah, so. I think they both did good on this dessert challenge.
Yeah. All right. So at this point, all 3 challenges are completed as a part of the final feast. And now it's the judging time. 2 professional chefs came out and tasted each portion or each course and judged together which one they felt was the best.
Right.
And I think one of them was a pastry chef and the other one was, I don't know, just a regular chef.
The main chef, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So anyway, they started with the pizza, the appetizer.
Right.
And let's talk a little bit about what they said about those pizzas.
They did comment on exactly what kind of crust is this that the green team made. They said, "Now, what did you make this crust out of?" And he explained that it was biscuits because he didn't know how to make a pizza crust. But he also said that because it was a barbecue chicken pizza, the biscuit crust went with it. It kind of worked, even though he didn't think it was going to. But once he tasted it, he said it actually did work.
Yeah, and I didn't think it was going to work. And was it the best? Probably not. But hey, you
what you got.
You got 2 hours to cook. You just got to move and make a decision and keep it moving.
Right.
So, and then they talked about JT and Kaylee's pizza.
They said that the toppings tasted great. The sauce was really good, but they said that the dough the crust was raw in the middle because, again, it was so thick. Mm-hmm. I mean, it literally looked like a loaf of bread, and they didn't have time to cook it all the way through.
There's no way they would have been able to cook it because they would have burnt
the outside.
Yeah, in order to get that stuff to cook. So, yeah, I thought that was funny. I knew right away who was going to win that.
Yeah, yeah.
Then the second one they went through was the entree. Mm-hmm. And so they tasted those and gave some feedback.
Yes. The judges asked Team Green, now what is going on with these buns? Because mine is a presto bun, yours is ciabatta, and they, visually those are two totally different buns. So it looked like they had two different sandwiches. The inside was the same, but the buns were different. And then they said that the chicken parmesan on Team Blue and the Alfredo pasta, both of the dishes had cheese in it. So it was hard to tell them apart.
Yeah, it was too much cheese for their liking. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as too much cheese.
We would have been fine with it.
Right. So, but I understand what they're saying because they got the Parmesan, they got more Parmesan and Alfredo and all that. So that is a lot of cheese. It wouldn't have bothered me, but
I can see how they critiqued it.
Yeah, but I'm not going to generally make a pasta like that with chicken Parmesan.
Yeah, no, I would have made,
meal.
Yeah, I would have made a pasta with like a red sauce that didn't have any cheese on it to go under the chicken. But,
and the chicken Parmesan had a white sauce too. It had an Alfredo sauce. I think it didn't have a red sauce because I remember saying, I prefer red sauce.
You did say that.
I would have made that instead. But
that's true.
So I wonder if she used this Alfredo sauce for the pasta.
Maybe in the chicken.
The chicken, which would make it a lot of cheese.
And similar taste to both of them. But the judges did say that the actual steak and peppers in the sandwich, they really liked it. They said he took one bite and he was like, "Oh, this is excellent. This meat in the sandwich is really good."
So that was the second course, and then we're down to the dessert course, and the feedback for this was, I think they understand that these people are not cooks, at all, but they really liked the shortcake, strawberry shortcake.
They really did. Now, again, then they mentioned how did you prepare these strawberries? And they loved it. They thought that the strawberries in that shortcake was really, really good.
Yeah, and that one guy, he finished his whole thing.
He might as well have just scraped the bottom to get all of it up. Mm-hmm. I said, "Oh, he killed that. He really did like that."
Yep, he did. And then they also tried, of course, Susan and Steven's upside down pineapple cake. I think it's called
pineapple upside down. But you got all the words.
Right. Don't correct me. You know what I was talking about. Pineapple upside down cake. And I don't remember, what was their feedback? Did they like it?
They did like it. They thought it was, the cake was not firm enough. It was, because it's a pineapple upside down pudding cake. And so it has pudding in it. And so they said the cake wasn't firm enough once it cooked. And you know how the sauce and the pineapples seep into the cake when you flip it over. Mm-hmm. It made it a little too, I guess, gooey with the pudding and the syrup sauce from it. So that's all they said.
And, I saw on Facebook today that people were not upset, but was just saying they felt bad for Becky because her meal had to get critiqued by a professional chef. Yeah. And I'm like, she shouldn't really care because it wasn't prepared like she would normally prepare it. It wasn't even in the correct pan.
It was in a pot.
So, I'm sure she was okay.
Yeah.
Because if she makes this a lot, her family likes it.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that they picked it is what probably made her feel the best, not how they cooked it, but that's the dish that they wanted to cook. They picked one of hers.
Yeah. So So that went over. They made their choice on this, and now it's time for Dan to read the results from the chefs.
Yes, and Dan said that his favorite
meal,
yes,
part of a meal,
yes,
is dessert.
So that's where they started.
And which I don't believe that personally.
I do think that probably is his favorite meal.
I mean, it could be, but I think they did it for effect because
we'll get to it.
But yeah, because of how the results came in. But
they started with the dessert.
They started with the dessert, and because of the strawberries on the shortcake, Team Blue won that course, and which means they got their first star and are now down one star to 2 stars. Yeah. And they are feeling a little bit better.
Yes, because if Team Green had won that one, it would have been over.
It would have been over right then and there, for sure. And then they moved on to the entrees.
Yes.
They basically went backwards. So they moved over to the entrees, and I think this was probably close.
I think it was.
But they chose JT and Kaylee's meal, which was the
chicken parm and Alfredo pasta.
Right. Which I was a little bit surprised about, too. But hey, that's what they chose. So that gave them their 2 stars. Yeah. So now it's tied 2-2.
Yes.
And then Kaylee starts freaking out.
Because, $50,000. Yes. Right there. I'm right there at it. I can see it.
Yeah. She's like, oh, I can't breathe. And I think they were down on themselves because they were down 2-0.
Right. They lost the first 2 challenges.
And they were just going to 3.
Right.
So now that it's tied 2-2,
it's anybody's game.
Right. It is down to the appetizer.
To that pizza.
To the pizza.
And the biscuit crust or the loaf crust.
Right. And so it came down to, you want to say who got that star?
No, you can say it.
So the team that won the last star and won $50,000 was Susan and Steven. Congratulations to them. They were good all season long.
Yes. Team Green won.
It is no surprise to me that they won first place and JT and Kaylee second place.
No.
That's how it's been all season long.
The whole game. They've been coming in first and Team Blue's been coming in second. So, I mean, it's right in line with how they played the game, navigating and getting to their relative's house and the challenges, the first 9 challenges. So, I mean, if you think about it, Team Green, they really did everything they were supposed to do to be able to win this.
Yes, I'm really happy the team that I chose won.
Yes, congratulations, Team Green.
I picked the team last season too.
Did you?
I think I did.
Who did you pick?
Who won last season?
No, I'm not going to tell you who won.
I don't remember who.
Then you don't remember who you picked?
Oh, I did. I do know. I don't remember their names. But it was Team Red. I chose them. It was the... Golly. What was their name?
I don't remember.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
And it was Team Red the season before that. I chose them too. The sisters.
Okay, can we get back
to
this?
So congratulations, Team Green. You win $50,000. But the biggest part is you met 9+ relatives that you will get to learn about and visit with and become family,
right?
Build relationships with, because
that is what the show is about. It's all about family. So although Team Blue didn't win $50,000, he was able to meet family, meet his father, meet a plethora of brothers and a sister. So I can't say enough how much I love this season and their stories and how they were able to put pieces of the puzzle together and get all the answers that they needed. Yeah,
it was definitely a good season and I enjoyed it. So I hope you enjoyed going through the recaps with us each and every week. We thank you for listening. We thank you for sharing with your friends and family.
And stay tuned, because I saw on Facebook that they are currently taping season 9 of Relative Race.
Yes. And I hope, we couldn't do it for this season, but I hope that we can put together a video podcast and put it on YouTube as well.
So stay tuned.
So that's what I'm hoping. I'm working towards that. So, all right, guys, we appreciate you guys for listening. All of our social media and contact information will be down in the description box of this episode. Again, congratulations to Team Green. Let me borrow $5. All right, we got to
guys.
go. Appreciate y'all. Y'all be safe out there.